Prior to the Silver Age of comics, in the rare event that superheroes ran into each other, odds were that 1, they probably have already heard of each other, and 2, they would probably get along immediately because, you know, they're the good guys. It just makes sense. But then came the Fantastic Four, comic bookdom's favorite straight-laced family who apparently just feels the need to fight everyone they meet. And from then on, one of our proudest comic book traditions is superheroes fighting each other, usually for no good reason. I say no good reason because generally fights arise as the result of a misunderstanding and/or manipulation and could be avoided by the two fighting parties behaving like adults and talking things out rather than launching a full-blown assault on each other at the very first opportunity, only to realize later, hey, we were both the good guys. But, you know, readers wanted to see heroes fight, so who cares how contrived it got? So this list of superhero battles through the ages is not exhaustive because I would be lowballing it to say that in all of published comics, this has probably happened in the thousands of times. But here are some cherry-picked examples of the history of comic book superhero fights, and we're going to stick with the big two. Because reasons. Until Prince Namor the Submariner met and battled with the original Human Torch, the characters of Marvel Comics seem to exist only in their own separate story universes, so this battle basically created the idea that there was a shared Marvel universe. Namor is kind of an anti-hero in that his motivations are fairly pure. He wants to protect the oceans, but he also wants to destroy the United States to do so, so this one actually kind of falls on the less contrived end. But then came the Fantastic Four, and they set the trend for superhero meetups, at least for the foreseeable future. Either Party A has not heard of Party B, or Party A has heard of Party B, but only bad things, like the X-Men are mutant terrorists, or Spider-Man has a bad rep because the editor of the New York Post really doesn't like him. The more straight-laced, law-abiding group of the Marvel Universe, the Fantastic Four fought everybody. The Avengers, the Silver Surfer, the Hulk, I mean, no surprise there, and of course Spider-Man. He wanted to join the Fantastic Four because he figures, hey, everybody likes the Fantastic Four and that might improve my image. He goes about this by picking a fight with them. In the end, his plan doesn't work, not because they were like, hey, that was a really stupid way to try to join our superhero group, but apparently because the Fantastic Four are a non-profit. Wolverine was introduced to the Marvel Universe by a battle, this time with the Hulk, but that one doesn't need much justification as both the Hulk and Wolverine will fight anything, so putting these two together in the same Canada is basically asking for it. But when there weren't misunderstandings, there were manipulations. Thor battled the Silver Surfer because Loki. He convinced him that Thor was an evil god. Speaking of Loki, the Avengers basically formed after Loki tricked Thor into fighting the Hulk, after which everybody teamed up to turn on Loki, and lo, the Avengers! Until Hulk left an issue or two later. Superman even fought Spider-Man at one point because he mistakenly blamed Spider-Man for kidnapping Lois Lane. This was made more of an even match because Lex Luthor had fired red sun radiation at Spider-Man's suit. So, you know, Superman was like a little wilty-er than he normally was. Mind control was a popular one. Here's Namor again, fighting the Fantastic Four, again under mind control. There's also another issue where Professor X, again under mind control, just up and tells the X-Men they need to go destroy the Fantastic Four for no reason, and the X-Men are like, okay, boss. The Justice League was manipulated into fighting the Avengers because reasons. Of course, not all battles need to be misunderstandings or manipulations. Superman and the Flash battled via foot race to raise money for charity. In the end, the two tied because they decided that their charities were more important than their egos, and that's just adorable. But then came the 80s, and adorable's not allowed, it's gritty realism time, so misunderstandings and manipulation from bad guys is not so satisfying anymore. The Spider-Man vs. Wolverine series was not really a knockdown drag-out brawl, so much as Spider-Man edging in on Wolverine's turf and Wolverine telling him to back off, bub. The Fantastic Four also had a feud with the X-Men, so this time it was because Reed Richard wasn't helping them enough, in this case to save Kitty Pryde from disintegrating. And this is also to say nothing of the countless inter-X-Men feuds, exacerbated by certain villains switching sides constantly and vice versa. But the most well-known battle from this era is between Superman and Batman in The Dark Knight Returns. Frank Miller took the attitude that Batman and Superman could never really be friends with one another because their personalities are too at odds. Taking place in a dark, Watchmen-ish alternate future timeline, Superman has become more or less an agent of the government, and Batman, unwilling to abide by the man, is forced into conflict with Superman. So if you're wondering why Batman's tech suit in Batman vs. Superman looks so chunky and silly, this is why. In the end, the two are pretty evenly matched, Superman with his strength and Batman with his cleverness and technology, but Batman ultimately has to fake his own death in order to win, or at least to get the government to stop looking his way. But let's not forget about Wonder Woman, who battles Batman in Hikatea. Penned by Greg Rucka, this is the one with the famous Wonder Woman shoe holding down Batman's head, hashtag misandry. In this one, Diana takes a vow to protect this girl, only to discover that her charge is a fugitive on the run from Batman, putting her at odds with him in this duty versus justice story and a terrible crisis for Diana's character. Speaking of crisis, Infinite Crisis was another draw for the Batman vs. Superman thing. This one followed Identity Crisis. During Identity Crisis, Batman walked in on something the Justice League did not want him to see, and he got his memory wiped. As Batman recovered his memory, he set up a massive satellite network to track all superhuman activity on the planet because he decided that superhumans cannot be trusted. Then this dude named Maxwell Lord co-opts Batman's technology to mind control Superman, and to try to get him to kill Batman, and only Wonder Woman killing this guy could stop Superman's rampage, which was a big in-universe deal because she did it on live television. Oopsie daisy. Speaking of the Justice League, they battled the Teen Titans in the Technus Imperative. Teen Titan Cyborg has decided he wants to steal the moon. For reasons. The Justice League decide that the thing to do here is to destroy Cyborg in order to save the moon, but the Titans want to defend their friend, so fight, fight, fight. But only sort of, because it turns out the Justice League are only doing their thing as a way to cause a distraction for Cyborg, and eventually the two teams team up and save the day. A later similar dark alternate future to The Dark Knight Returns is Kingdom Come. Gritty, violent, vigilante murder heroes are all the rage in this timeline until one of the murder heroes nukes half of Kansas. Superman and Wonder Woman have a disagreement with Batman on how to go about dealing with this problem, and before you know it, we have murder hero gulags and re-education camps and a big brawl between Superman's forces, Batman's forces, and the murder heroes. Eventually, world leaders have to be the adults here and step in and tell them to stop, or we're gonna turn this car around by nuking a majority of the superhero population. In the Marvel universe, Civil War is pretty similar to Kingdom Come, minus the alternate timeline part. We discussed Civil War back in the Captain America episode. But here is a quick recap. After some D-list heroes nuke a school, a Superhero Registration Act is introduced, championed by Iron Man, among many others, and opposed by Captain America, among many others. There are various and sundry tie-in comics that are not the worst thing ever, but the 7 issues of Civil War are predicated on the premise that no one thinks like an adult and everyone, especially Captain America, is behaving horribly out of character. Once again, gulags for superhero who don't comply with the totalitarian whatever, courtesy of an also wildly out of character Reed Richards, only this time they're interdimensional space gulags. Civil War ends when Captain America, after 6 issues of acting like a belligerent asshole incapable of human reason, goes, "Wait guys, this is stupid," and turns himself in. And then he's assassinated, and it's like, what? The upcoming movie appears to give Iron Man and Captain America more concrete motivations, and honestly, any movie that they made could only be an improvement on the source material as far as I am concerned. As for Dawn of Justice, with so much comic history to draw on, I'm sure Batman and Superman have a totally legit and not contrived reason for fighting each other.
And if we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty.
Like Batman quoting Dick Cheney to justify his xenophobia and violence. Well, points for originality, Zack Snyder. You always fail to disappoint. We'll talk about that another time, after the movie comes out. Anyway, thank you, of course, patrons, for making this episode and this show possible, and thank you to Louis Linkara Lovehog for helping me with the DC stuff. Thank you again for watching. Patreon, Twitter. Can you tell I didn't write out a concrete conclusion for this one? See, I was supposed to end with the dig at Zack Snyder, and then I forgot to write in the thank yous. Like and subscribe. I'm a professional.